really kind of solidified for me that we are not always in control of everything, and that's okay. And sometimes you need other people to support you through things, and you don't need to know the answer to everything. You can build a team to really support you through your recovery, through life, through anything. And I think I've mellowed a lot in that sense through this process.
Welcome to Limitless, the podcast for cycle breakers, change makers, and conscious leaders who are done performing, proving, and pleasing, and are ready to live, lead, and create from deep alignment. I'm your host, Fiona Walsh. Every 2 weeks, I hold space for real soul-expanding conversations with guests who are still in it. They're navigating their biggest fears, shedding old identities, letting go of patterns that no longer serve them, and rising into their limitless potential. Together, we share what it's really like to be human, messy, raw, imperfect, and learning to own every part of ourselves, even the ones we've tried to keep neatly tucked away. We go deep into the work of coming home to yourself, getting out of your head, feeling safe in your body, letting go of old stories, and creating a life that's true to who you really are. Subscribing to Limitless is the best way to make sure you never miss an episode. So hit pause and tap follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Because this isn't about doing more. It's actually about remembering who you are. And that's what makes you limitless. Welcome to Limitless. Today, I'm joined by Gurpreet, a senior marketing executive, a strategist, a change maker, and a deeply embodied leader. She's also one of the most gifted marketers I've ever worked with. But Gurpreet is much more than her resume. We met through our corporate work together way back in 2014. And I remember instantly being magnetized by her authenticity, her honesty, her straight shooting nature, and I absolutely adored her dry British humor. Over the years, we've witnessed each other through many different seasons, careers, changes in our families, some really hard times, identity shifts, inner growth, quiet awakenings. And she's been a source of clarity, strength, truth, and friendship in my life, which I'm endlessly grateful for. In today's conversation, we're going to talk about a moment that changed everything for her. There's so much depth and richness to this story. And I'm so grateful and glad that she said yes to coming on to Limitless. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Fiona. Such kind words, and right back at you. We've been through so much over the number of years we've known each other. And yeah, you've made my life better just by being in it. So thank you.
That's beautiful. All right. So as I said, you had a major life-altering accident. Can you kick us off there of like what happened to you on that day? And then we will unravel the story from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we've talked about before, there was a point in time I wasn't even able to speak about this. And obviously my journey has led me to be able to do that. But essentially, I was just going about my regular day. It was kind of an evening walking home and crossing the street in Yaletown in Vancouver. And out of nowhere, I see a car hurtling towards me, and I put my hand out trying to see if this thing's going to stop. And instead of stopping, it starts to accelerate even faster. And I have a split second to figure out what to do. And the only thing I could do was like turn away. And at that point, I was obviously hit and was, I don't remember hitting the ground, but I hit the ground in the road. And then, after that, fire brigade, all of the emergency services that, are there on site, and ended up in the ER, of course. A very traumatic point in time in my life that happened just out of nowhere, but I'm sure happened for a very good reason. And also so grateful that I'm here to be able to tell this story.
Yeah, absolutely. And so can you take me back to like just after the accident? What do you remember, maybe physically first, because that's probably the most obvious one. And then we might go into like emotionally and energetically.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember well, I don't remember hitting the ground.
Mm.
What I do recall, and I don't know how, that I feel like I was moved by a group of people. I was face down on the ground, and I woke up face down on the ground, but on the pavement instead of in the road.
Right.
So people moved me across, and I just remember that I'd been hit in the leg and the back, and that's what was the like physical like pain I was feeling, and a lot of shock. I was just like in shock that had even happened, and confusion. I was really, really confused. I think that I just remember I don't know how long it took me to come round. But when I did, somebody was like peering through a crowd that was around me, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. And they just repeated themselves a number of times. And then I realized they were asking me, like, do I speak Farsi? They're like, do you speak Farsi? Because I'm assuming they imagined I wasn't understanding what they were saying in English. And so they were trying to see if they could be helpful in another language. And at that point, I was just like, no, and cried. And that's the moment I remember, just like, what on earth happened?
Do you remember what was going on in your body, like in your nervous system? Like, were you frozen or numb or in pain?
I was frozen, I would say. I think it's quite traumatic when you have I don't know how many ton vehicle hit you.
Yeah.
So I think I was frozen, would be a really good descriptor of how I was feeling. And I literally couldn't move either. And I wasn't allowed to move because they wanted to make sure that my legs and all of that were not going to or my spine wasn't going to get damaged at that point.
Yeah. And then once you went to hospital and got assessed, like what were your injuries?
Yeah, so they suspected a hairline fracture in my coccyx at that point because that was the main place that was impacted. And of course, a concussion. I had like the CT scans and all of that, x-rays and things. And I just remember the doctors, like first the fire brigade, while I was on the street, checking and asking me, can you feel your toes? Can you feel your legs? And same thing when I got to the hospital, they were trying to make sure that there was no damage to my ability to walk through my spine, etc. And those are the types of things that actually, like when we talk more about this, started to come back to trigger me from a PTSD perspective. And maybe we'll talk about that as we go through this. But yeah, there was just a lot of just making sure physically I was okay. And then they told me at that point that they suspected I had a concussion as well.
Okay. And were you feeling it in your head? Like, did you have a headache or did you feel a bit out of it?
I was pretty out of it, I would say.
Yep.
And mostly I was worried about my back, actually. I hadn't even thought about, my brain in this context because I was still in shock, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And we were just talking before we started because I actually went back and checked our messages that we had just after when I found out that you'd had the accident. And it was when we first connected, you were very much in the sense of like, it was sort of like down to business sort of stuff. Like you were in survival mode, I'm sure, but you were like, I've just got people to come in to help and I'm going to do my ICBC, which for people, that's like the claim that you do because of, I'm guessing, the accident, stuff like that. But that was sort of what you were in initially. And then what unraveled from there, because I know the physical stuff, like your coccyx and things like that was obvious to begin, but then what happened in the next few weeks, which was really when it started to unravel for you?
Yeah. So, like I was trying to do, for the first few days, you're not doing anything anyway. You're just trying to like recover. And then I was like, me, my personality, I always want to be doing something.
Yeah.
And so I would like literally try to walk around my kitchen island just to kind of move my body a little bit, even if I wasn't supposed to, just kind of like get myself going and be proactive. And then like a couple of weeks in, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to go around to the shop downstairs, just to kind of walk through the store. And I live in a high rise and there's a store underneath us in the same building. The moment I walked into the store, I was like, what is happening? I walked down an aisle and everything was moving. I felt really disoriented. The lighting was really triggering for me. And I spent probably like, it felt like ages, but probably spent 5 seconds in there and I was out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point. I was like, okay, something's really wrong. Like I shouldn't be feeling like off balance. Shouldn't be feeling so much overwhelm just by going into the store. And at that point, I was like, okay, my concussion is still very active. I need to figure out what's going on there. And even at that time, I was just like, okay, I need to rest. Shouldn't do too much. But it didn't resolve. And they usually say if it hasn't resolved in the first 4 to 6 weeks, then you end up in post-concussion. And unfortunately for me, that's where I ended up.
Yeah. Okay. And then at the same time, how are you doing like emotionally and energetically?
I would say at first it's survival mode, just shock. And then what started to happen at night was I would go to sleep for a couple of hours and I would just bolt up within, like, it was like clockwork. Yep. I would be wondering if I could move my toes.
Yes.
So I'd like wiggle my toes and see like, okay, that's working. But then I'd have a fear that my legs couldn't take my weight. So I'd have to get out of bed to make sure that my body could take the weight on my legs. And that started to happen like night after night. And I think by the third or fourth night, I was like, okay, this is like not healthy. I'm obviously dealing with something here, probably PTSD, but I didn't want to self-diagnose. And in that moment, I was like, I think I need counseling. And so, between myself and my husband, like we organized for that to happen. And probably one of the best things I ever did, because I was able to talk through what I was feeling. And she was able to give me like the why for that in terms of like my nervous system dysregulation. Like she's like, it's PTSD, your nervous system is out of whack. And that's all very natural because you're in fight or flight still. And that your body and your nervous system take time for that to kind of resolve itself, but you have to work through it.
And what type of therapy was it that you did to help regulate your nervous system?
It was just a lot of talk therapy.
Yeah.
A lot of just trying to get just talk through how I was feeling. A lot of the times, I was diligent with going. I went every week. And sometimes I'd be like, what am I going to talk about? But I was like, I'm going to do this because I think it's something that's really going to help my recovery. And it would always amaze me the type of discussions that we would end up having would use the full hour. Yeah. And oftentimes, I did it for a year, by the way.
Yeah.
I cried so much in that time as well. And I'm me, I'm not much of a crier. I'm emotional, I'm loving, all of those things, but I am never been known for being emotional in that sort of, I have to cry every week or like anything like that. And so for me, it was like a bit of a unraveling of what is happening here. It was really strange, but I think I was feeling the trauma come out and I was feeling in order to get past this, a lot of stuff had to move out of my body.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful that I realized that at that moment. And it resolved those, I guess, waking up at night and feeling those things through all of the things that they did. So a lot of talk therapy, a lot of facing my fears. Had to go back to where the accident happened over time, which was really wild. But so glad I did it.
Yeah, they say when we cry, it's like stress hormones leaving our body. So I can see how that would have actually also helped you start to re-regulate as well as you were crying every time. In the weeks that followed, when you were like in recovery and stuff, what were some of the invisible parts of your recovery that people couldn't see, but you were noticing in yourself?
in the actual recovery process, or like things that were quite shocking that I couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
Because through the process, one thing I find is you're very alone. And I don't mean in the sense of like family. My family were amazing.
Yeah, you had physical
supportive.
people around you.
I had people around me.
Yep.
But the medical system, like as amazing as it can be, they were like, okay, you've got this, you'll be okay. We'll sign you off for this much time, and then you're kind of on your own. Like I still don't have like a GP that I can register with at this point, even after all of that. And so there was a lot of trial and error, trying to find like my team that was going to support me to get my brain back. And I think having a like a vestibular therapist was the first like port of call for me after my counselor to start building up my team. And what transpired was that like I had issues with my eyes and my brain speaking to each other. And so that was causing a lot of issues with proprioception, my ability to not feel like I was going to fall over when I was walking down the street. Everything not feeling like it was moving, my inability to look at a screen for any length of time, really.
Yeah.
Not being able to speak to more than one person at a time, sitting in a dark room with them with sunglasses on. Like it was really life. My life became very small and limited. And as we're talking about limitless, I wasn't going to stand for that. And so building up my team became really core to my recovery. And I think I learned my recovery was long. It was like over a year, maybe a year and a half, actually. And through every piece of the jigsaw that I put together, I learned something new about what I needed to do to get to. I didn't want to just get to my 100%. I wanted to get to better than where I left it.
Yeah.
And so that journey has been really incredible, but also really long. I don't even know if I answered your question there.
You did. You gave. I think you gave more than what I asked for. But because I remember one of the things that we were trying to catch up, and my kids were sick. It meant I couldn't come over because you were like, I can't afford to catch something if you're carrying something of your kids. And I was like, I totally get that, because it was that time of year where kids are just like germ carriers here. But I remember when we did catch up, how intentional we had to be in terms of like where and how many people we would be, and would we do a walk, or could we find a place that was quiet enough? So I remember that time so vividly, because I could tell your senses were clearly so heightened or so sensitive. And I wondered what other things were, had changed for you. And so that was why I appreciated your answer, because you listed about 50 things that would change.
There was a lot. It changed everything.
Yeah. Everything. Yeah. And like, you've grown up with celiac disease as well, which is an interesting one, because you've had to be intentional with your body and your health more so than other people. Like when we catch up, it's always like, you choose a restaurant because you're not gluten intolerant like some people are, and you'll end up in hospital if people mess up in a restaurant. So
I'll be very sick.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So it's like, so I was interested around like, what journey have you gone on to like trust your body and feel safe in your body again since the accident?
Yeah, I think you make a good point. Like I've always been quite in tune with my body because I've had to be over the years. But I think I had physical sensations of nervous system dysregulation after the accident in my thorax, like in the back. And that's where your nervous system resides. And so through this process, actually started to be able to see the physical symptoms of that really come up and know when to listen to them. Similarly, like, one of the issues I had was my eyes and my brain not talking to each other. So my eyes would skip and I couldn't retain information at that time. And so I ended up having to go to another therapy, which is called like an eye therapy specific to make these things work again. And I think going through all of these different types of, like, whether it was physical, like emotional, all of these therapies and vestibular, whatever you call it, really makes you so aware of how connected everything is. And I am much more attuned to all aspects of that now, and feel really like, in a way, it's a blessing because I can quite quickly know if I'm going to be off track on something. On either end of the spectrum and deal with it. So
yeah, that's fascinating because what you like, we're so unconscious of what we do. Like, we're on autopilot for, like, you know, as you say, like reading something or like all the things that you just do that are second nature. When all those are taken away from you and you have to relearn them again or reprogram in your body how to make them work, it obviously creates fresh awareness, acute awareness of what's going on. Before the accident, like looking back, what was your nervous system like prior to the accident?
Pretty good. Like, so I think I'm a pretty resilient person.
Yeah. You hold a lot. Like, you're fairly chill for someone who holds a lot.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I can take a lot. I don't get easily stressed. I worked in executive roles for a long time. Like, you know, I'm usually like that strong one. And so it was quite interesting, like not being in the situation I ended up in, having to rely on like a team of people to try and get me through it. But in a way, I still felt like I was able to play a big part in bringing that team together and knowing that I was going to actively participate in my recovery. Because a lot of people, and this, speaking with my counselor too, they were like, you've got so much resilience and like determination to get better. And not just like to a mediocre way of like, okay, this is good enough. No, I want it to be better than where I started. And that's where I ended up going to the States for additional treatment. Worked out really well for me.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I wonder, like, when you're thrown something awful like this and different, it might look different for different people, like a health thing or a family thing. It's very easy to fall into victim mode and like, why did this happen to me? And like the pity party, and like we all go there. Did you have that at all? And then when did you shift into this, like, I'm creating the future and not just I'm going to get back to my base level, I'm going to be better than that?
Yeah. I mean, of course, we all have pity parties. And I think those things can be true at the same time. And so, like, I used to get quite like frustrated and emotional about the fact that I couldn't do what I, you know, like, you think simple thing. Can I read a book and retain that information? Can I look at a screen? Can I walk down the street? Like, all of these things that seemed so easy a few weeks before were now really, really difficult. And even like months in, it was like slow progress. And so I felt a lot of like frustration, and I felt like upset about it. But equally at the same time, I was really determined that there's no way that this is going to be my end state. This is going to just be hard for a while. Now I'm prepared to put in the work and do everything I need to do in order to get to where I want to get to.
And so tell me about, because I know there was a real like shift or transition that happened when you went to the States for the very specialized treatment. Can you like, how did that come about? And like, how did you get there? Because I know that was the pivot point that really like got you over the last hurdle or it was a mountain.
Yeah. So actually my sister-in-law had suggested this book, which it was from Sarah Polly. It's called Run Towards the Danger.
Right.
And it's a book of, I think, 7 essays. It was 7 essays. And the last one is called Run Towards the Danger. And actually it was her story about her concussion, which lasted over 3 years before she got recovery. And in that, she described some of the stuff that she had to do, and this clinic in Pittsburgh, which is where I ended up going, with an amazing doctor called Dr. Mickey Collins, who ended up being my doctor, thankfully. And he just believed like they take you in, they see whether they think they can support you. In my case, he was like, yes, we definitely think we can get you there. And that was I think, over 6 month journey working with him to get really well. And so from that, listening, I had to listen to it on Audible because I couldn't read properly.
Yeah, of course.
I made the decision right there that was what I was going to do. And I feel really like, obviously I'm in a position that I was able to afford to do that.
Yeah.
But I really hope that there's going to be something that comes out of this that allows other people to take that information and be able to do something with it themselves without having to go and do that in the States.
Yeah. Have it in their hometown or
have it in their hometown, have ways to do part of it at home. I was trying to do some of that just by listening to the Audible. Like I started myself while I was waiting for my appointments and it made a difference.
Yeah. And how long did it take? How long was it from the accident to when you were like back at work and feeling like yourself again?
It was a year to the day of the accident that I started my graduated return to work. And it makes me, like, it's not even funny, but it makes me laugh because I was saying to myself and everybody that would listen, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be back to work in however many weeks after the accident.
Yeah.
And here I was a year
I remember
to the day later doing a graduated return. And at that time I was still going through that program with Dr. Collins.
Yeah.
I think actually I might have just been starting the program with Dr. Collins. So I'd got myself to what I thought was 80% better and got myself back to work in my like VP position, functioning.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, they did all the testing and all of that good stuff. He was like, when you finished with us, you're going to realize you're not at 80%. And I can tell you, he was absolutely right. I wasn't. And by that, the number of months that I worked with that team and the doctor to where I am now, it was night and day. Even though to the outside world, it would have looked like she's functioning just fine. And I don't think you know until you know.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so fascinating. Do you know what percentage you were at, even though you thought you were at 80? Did he assess that?
I think I was probably more like at 65.
Yeah.
Like I could do my job, I could function, but everything else around me, like all my effort went into work. It didn't go into like all the other things. It was work, and doing all my therapies was like
healing.
a full-time job.
Yeah,
so that's the
remember.
only two things I could have room for in my life at that point.
Yeah. Has there anything that you had to grieve, like what you had to let go of in order to become who you are now?
Yeah, probably like control of things, knowing that you can't control everything. I mean, you know
we
that.
Can't control much at all. Oh no,
we can't control much at all. And like the randomness of being hit by a car when it's my right of way to walk across the street, to like all the things that happened after, to now, I think has really taught me the lesson that you're not in control of much, but you can be in control of your own like emotions, and there's things that you can do to support recovery. There's things that you can do to support other people that are going through things. And I think that's a really important part of it as well, is people have so much capacity to heal.
Yeah.
If they kind of relinquish a little bit of control.
Yeah.
Or what they think is control.
Yes, the illusion of control.
Yeah.
And equally, how has this experience informed your ability to like receive and trust and surrender?
That's a really good question. I've had a lot of faith in my life from a very young age. Yep. I come from a really spiritual family. And so I think I've always had some of that in me innately, not 100%. But I think going through this trauma in my life, and I've been through a few, as you know, really kind of solidified for me that we are not always in control of everything, and that's okay. And sometimes you need other people to support you through things. And you don't need to know the answer to everything. You can build a team to really support you through your recovery, through life, through anything. And I think I've mellowed a lot in that sense through this process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wondered that because I know previous traumas you went through, you were doing it a lot, not alone, but with a smaller group around you. And I felt like this time you opened your arms more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we don't have any choice because it's, we're cognitively impaired. It's quite different to just
and it was the best decision I have made. Like now, if anyone ever listens to me, I'm like, get all the help you can get. Because it just speeds things up and you don't have to do it all on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. What strengths or qualities have emerged in you that maybe surprised you or are different to you, 2 years ago?
I've always felt like I had resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this really took me to the edge of that. And to be able to stay focused on recovery and not get pulled back into the dark spaces of it, I think has really helped me to almost double down on knowing that I can get through pretty much anything. So I think that's been quite interesting for me.
Does that give you a sense of feeling limitless?
100%. And not just me, I feel that for everyone. I think too often, whether it's in a traumatic situation or a work situation or just a general life situation, we can put people in boxes. And I think that what this has taught me is that we are all limitless and we really can, we've got infinite potential if we can harness it. And I truly believe that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the self-belief piece is the critical belief because if you believe it, you can do it.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe it, then you're your own blocker and your own worst enemy, unfortunately.
And the amount of people you will encounter that have limiting beliefs on your behalf is wild, actually. Where, well, you're good enough now, or this might be as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just not an acceptable response from anyone. And it also wasn't something that I would be okay with. And so I was super determined that I would come out of this better. And I have. And I've, no matter what anyone said, whoever was an expert, I had enough belief in myself that I would get there. And I'm so glad I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's an element of, I can hear that you listen to your own beliefs rather than letting other people project, and they don't do it in a negative, they don't mean to be doing it in a negative way, but they're projecting on you that might be limitations or you've done enough, you're trying so hard, we don't want you to but you're I'm going to do me on this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think I get a bit of that from my parents. My dad is really somebody that encourages that sort of belief in myself.
Yes.
And, he'd give me these pep talks as well through the process. Yeah. And, I think that's helped me a lot along the way.
Yeah. When we talk about the nervous system, we've got protective mechanisms or coping strategies. And so we've talked about control being a big one. Are there any others that you realize that you don't lean on as much anymore, maybe over-functioning at work or hyper-independence or those kinds of things, hypervigilance?
I think broadly, I would say, I think you said I can take a lot.
Yes.
And I actually probably can take more now.
Totally.
Having gone through that than I ever could. And I felt like I could always take quite a bit. but my approach to it is slightly different. So where something may have triggered me to go and respond like right away, I'll take my time. And I don't mean like I'm slow. I would say I will be really considered about like my approach to a response, not necessarily react. And the other thing I would say is that to only do things I'm passionate about. Because when you go through any sort of experience like that, you realize how precious life is, and not to be wasting time doing things that don't bring you joy, don't bring you passion. And so I always said to myself after this that if I wasn't loving what I was doing, that I would do something different. And luckily for me, like I am so passionate about the work I'm doing right now, that like it's a joy to go to work every day. And is it stressful sometimes? Yes. But do I actually feel like I'm thriving in that? Yes. And if it comes to a point where I'm not, then I know I would be like, hey, okay, this is not working for me. But I'm really, really like thrilled to say that I'm just loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about this the other day. I always think about this, and because your example fits into it as well. When people have a life-changing injury, or they get really sick, or they get told they've got 12 months to live.
Yeah.
And then they just go for it.
Yes.
Because all bets are off, like literally nothing to lose. So you sort of flip the coin on like the fears and the limitations and the shoulds, and just do the I'm all in on life because, as you said, I've got this one precious life. So how am I going to live it?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've done that flip?
I think so. I think on the surface, it might look like, well, you just went back and started doing your role again. Right. But I've always been so passionate about like the work I do.
Yeah.
And so if I am in a position to be able to go and do that, whether it's work, whether it's something in life, I'm going to do it wholeheartedly. And so, yeah, like I'm just not going to waste time on things that are not important to me. And the things I'm doing now are really important to me.
And I think also I can see that you have changed in all amazing ways, but I'm sure that people don't always see the things that you're saying no to, that in the past you probably said yes to, that might not have been aligned or may have drained your energy. So it's all about perspective at the end of the day. Yeah.
And in a way, I'm doing more, which is so cool. And I'm doing it and I'm having fun because it doesn't feel like work. So whether it's something that I'm doing in my career, whether it's something I'm doing to support people, like mentor them, like go to do a guest lecture at a university, like I went to SFU this year. I'm saying yes to more things, but I'm actually really passionate about them. And so they don't feel like work,
Yeah. Well, like I truly believe in the construct that when you can recognize your passions, but give them back in service to others, that's when your passions align with your purpose.
Yeah.
And that's when you unlock the magic of like fulfillment and happiness and freedom and all the things that like we all desire and want to call in.
And then when you realize it's your choice, right?
Oh, yeah.
You are making, I think that makes all the difference to framing whatever situation you're in. Ultimately, like, I mean, for the most part, I've had a choice to do something or not do something. And if I can always frame it in that way, well, then I chose it. So,
What would you say to someone who's feeling really stuck or blocked or like just in it at the moment? Because I agree with you on the choice stuff, but I know when people feel in it, they quite often don't see the choice or don't want to believe that there is a choice for them. What advice would you have for someone who's feeling like there is no choice right now?
I think there's so many answers to that question and loads of ways at it. But for me, what I do now is I'll sit with it without any distractions and really ask myself, why do I feel stuck? and try and be a little bit logical about it, but also get the feeling.
Yeah,
like,
into the
how do I
heart.
feel about this? Like, listen in a little bit more. And the body can tell you so much about maybe more than just the logic. And then just maybe write out how you're feeling. And a lot of the times things will start to transpire through that. I found working with a coach or with, like just talking to my counselor, for example, a lot of stuff starts to become really clear, and they give you so many tools to have to to help with that. So I would encourage you to, if you can, maybe reach out to a coach like yourself or whoever else that you're interested in to try and talk that through.
And so you recently came to the Regulate and Rise masterclass that I facilitated with my dear friend Mackenzie, who's a breathwork instructor. And in it, we really invited people to give their mind a rest and to like really connect with their body and particularly their heart, which it was very experiential, and we designed it that way. So I was just interested to hear, like, how did you experience it in your body?
Yeah, I loved it. It felt like a really safe space to be, almost like cocooned. And I thought it was just set up so well to be able to go and do that inner work and have the, like we talked about the heart, and starting to feel some of the feelings around that. I thought it was physical as well as emotional. And I really have to say I enjoyed that process, and I felt so calm afterwards. It was like the perfect thing that I could have done on that afternoon.
Yeah, awesome. Did anything surprise you, or did you have any like clarity from it?
Like I felt stuff for sure. I felt some emotions come out during some of the heart work that you were leading. And after, I think for me, a lot of it was just kind of recentering, because I am all go often.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes you don't know you need it. And when I saw that this was an option, I was like, yes, this is what I need right now. And it was perfect timing also.
Yeah.
And I'd definitely do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got another one coming up in November. So it was beautiful energy in the room, and everyone came into it from different parts of the day and life. And it was, but by the end, it was a very grounding, such a beautiful, beautiful energy in the room. One thing I wanted to ask you is, before we get to the rapid fire questions, was I remember when I was coming to catch up with you after you'd had your accident, and it was when I was starting to trust my intuition more than I had, because I was always like, these are just ideas and thoughts and but I was like, no, I feel, and I remember saying to you, okay, I hope this doesn't sound weird, but I had this really strong ping that it wasn't your time to go, that when you had the accident, that you had more to live in this life. And so it wasn't your time to go. And I was like, I remember saying, does that resonate? Do you remember your answer?
I do. Yeah, I do.
What did you say?
I don't remember exactly what I said,
but roughly, yeah.
But I do know that I think I have a lot more I had a lot more living to do for sure. But I also felt like there was like a divine intervention almost to ensure that I was here to come and do what I needed to do and figure that out.
Yeah, because I remember saying to you, like, I don't want to sound like morbid, but could you have died? And you were like, yes. And I was like, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the car hit you at flat speed. And I feel like that was like one of those moments in your friendship where like another like layer just like cracks open.
100%.
We went down a pretty cool conversation after that, which I won't go into today, but I just thought, I wanted to share that because it was a moment for me personally where someone I deeply care about, but I had an intuitive hit where I was like, oh, wow, maybe this is way bigger than what we think. Maybe this life is way different to what I thought this controlling personality that I had been thought it was all about.
And I think we talked at that time about like, I felt like I got hit for a reason too.
And like to get out
maybe it was to get out some of that emotion that ended up coming out through that whole year that might have been pent up for me through
Yeah.
all the
Trauma.
that we've had, that I've had. And so, yeah, totally remember that.
Yeah, cool. All right. So transformation can happen in small intentional steps. It's usually these micro moments, the little steps that add up to change. It's sustainable rather than like big quantum leaps. So based on your journey in the last couple of years, what's one step or action that people listening could take to unlock their limitless potential?
Trust your instincts. And I would say with that, you have to start like actually listening to your own gut instincts. And so we're so crowded out by logic sometimes that it's a bit of a practice that has to happen. And so that's something that I listen to your intuition.
How do you like to listen to your intuition?
I think that's where going like and centering and quiet into a quieter space, like actually doing that. Like I felt like I was in that cocoon in the session that we had done. It kind of brings things up. And then if you can journal them, which we did in that space, really can start to bring things to life and then go back to it. Don't just let it like go. I mean, yes, let things go that need to go. But if there's things that are niggling at you, like don't ignore them. Think about it.
Yeah, I always say that to people. If you have reoccurring memories from the past and you wonder why it keeps coming up, your body is trying to communicate with you. So like go there, go back to that moment and see what was the lesson or what did I miss or what needs to be revisited. Okay, rapid fire. What's the most liberating thing you've ever done and would you do it again?
Oh, that's a good question. The most liberating, do you know, this is going to sound so cliche or corny, but I'm pretty much game for so many things. So like just going and like living in another country, those types of things, like I'm so open to experiencing new things and like not worrying too much about like all the whys and wherefores, just try it. So that's been quite liberating. I've lived in the US, I've lived in Canada, I've lived in the UK, and it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I've lived in all those countries as well, which is crazy. What's the biggest misconception people have about you?
You know, I think some people think that I am not as soft as I am.
Yeah.
And when they get to know me, they really realize like I'm quite gooey inside and quite like I have a lot of loyalty to my friends and will do anything for them. And so, yeah, I think maybe that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know the soft gooey side of you, but I can totally see that. What's one life or leadership lesson the universe keeps throwing at you to learn and relearn and relearn?
That we can do anything we put our minds to. And literally in my case, my mind too.
Yeah.
And so that's a lesson that I keep dear to my heart and a belief that I hold.
Yeah, beautiful. When you hear the word limitless, what are 3 words or feelings that are evoked for you?
Potential, fun, because I want to be fun. And I think passion. You have to have a passion for living a limitless life.
Yeah, beautiful. And finally, if you're having a bit of a hard day or a low mood, what's a song you like to put on to raise your vibration?
Oh my God, I'll put some like Bhangra music on and just dance around the room. That's usually what will get me going. Yeah.
I love it. And that helps move energy through your body when you dance as well as pumping the tunes. I love that. Okay. Well, Gurpreet, thank you so much for coming on Limitless today and for sharing such an incredible story and being so honest and real and raw. I know people are going to have so many learnings and lessons from what you've shared. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to Limitless. If you enjoyed today's episode and love hearing the stories of courageous cycle breakers, I'd be grateful if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your feedback not only helps others discover the show, but it also amplifies our mission to unlock emotional freedom and true potential. Every review makes a difference in helping more people embrace their limitless life.